are here. Let's get started, man. We already are super far behind. Had some stuff I had to take care of. Let's just jump right into it, man. I got into a disagreement, some would say, with Tony and Will over the weekend because I was watching Spurs Nuggets and I came to this conclusion post watching Spurs Nuggets, and I want to be emphatic for everybody, mainly Will, to hear this. Nikola Jokic is the best player in the planet. He just is. He is, and I get it, and I understand that I think defense consistently and routinely gets underrated, especially from all-time great defenders. I think Mike, Kobe, Hakeem, Duncan, these guys that make these consecutive in all these all NBA defensive teams, I absolutely think we do not take defense into as much consideration as we should. That being said, when you are the unstoppable force, and Nikola Jokic is the unstoppable force. I don't care what defense you have, you are just better than everybody at playing the game of basketball. Listen to this, and I took a picture. I want to make sure that I quote this. Shout out to Swiper, does a lot of really good stuff. Has a good podcast. Great follow on Twitter, by the way, for both sports and not sports things. And he basically just said Jokic versus the guy on defense. So this is Wemby, Anthony Davis, Rudy Gobert. Versus Wemby since 2025. 42.3 points per game, 11.7 rebounds, 10.7 assists, 58 true shooting. Against Anthony Davis, 29.2, 14.4 rebounds, 10 assists, 64 true shooting. And against Gobert, 39.7, 13 rebounds per game, 9.8 assists, 75% true shooting. So the reality is he is just the unstoppable force, and it doesn't matter how great your defense is, and Wemby is great. Wemby is an all-timer already defensively. Yes, some of that is genetics and the uniqueness of being 7'5", but that does not change the fact he is already an all-time elite defender. And it just does not bother Jokic. You cannot interrupt Jokic. You cannot stop him. What he wants to do during a basketball game, he can do whatever and whenever he wants. These aren't just like good numbers against great defenders. These aren't just great numbers against great defenders. These are all-time numbers against all-time defensive players. Anthony Davis, it's going to be a shame that he's going to probably retire without ever winning a Defensive Player of the Year. Gobert has 4 Defensive Player of the Years, and Wemby is going to rack up, who knows, 7, 8, 9 by the end of his career. And you just can't stop him. And here's the thing. And again, defense matters. It absolutely does. Defense absolutely matters. But no one has ever sat there and really asked themselves, how good was Wilt Chamberlain on defense? It's never been a question. How good was Kareem on defense? It's never been a question. Because when you are the unstoppable force in basketball, when you are the guy who nobody, no matter what they're doing, no matter how great they are, you continue to get yours, and you're in your own right unstoppable. Like, nobody, it does not matter. Jokic is not a great defender. Objectively, he's not. But it doesn't matter if he's not the guy or a great defender, because that's what he can do on offense. The Nuggets, we know the Nuggets have deteriorated since they won the NBA title. Like, we know they're not quite as good as they were. And you watch games like that on Sunday and you're like, oh yeah, I just can't totally write them off because they have that guy. And if that guy goes nuclear, it's over for anybody. He's the one guy, OKC, as great of a defensive team as they are. Take your opinions or bias out on the way that they play defense. OKC can't stop Jokic. So OKC, the best defensive team, can't stop him. Wemby, AD, Gobert, the best defensive players of the last 10 years, they can't stop him. Who can stop him? The answer is nobody. He's the best player in the world, emphatically. I get it. Shea's got the best team. Shea's going to be a 2-time MVP, and Shea might win back-to-back titles. Even with all that said, I just don't believe he's better than Jokic. And here's the thing, and I said this about Shea last week on group chat. If wherever you think Shea's resume is going to get him, a top 10, top 15 all-time guard, he's going to be a multiple-time MVP and multiple-time rings. He's earned every bit of that, and he's an amazing player. But if you look at him and you go, okay, do I think he genuinely is better at basketball than some of these guys he's going to start getting compared to? And when I look at Jokic, I don't think Shea, even as great as he's been, I don't think he's better at basketball than Nikola Jokic. When I look at Jokic, I'm like, I think he is just as good, if not better at basketball than Shaquille O'Neal. I think he is just as good, if not better at basketball than Hakeem Olajuwon. I think he is just as good, if not better. But like, I'm comparing him to all-time centers. I'm comparing him to all-time players. He is the guy. He is the unstoppable force. He is the best player in the sport. And Wemby, again, I know Wemby is trying to really emphasize how big of an impact and important defense is. Well, your great defense let him get 40-plus points, a triple-double, and he was hit maybe the shot of the NBA season in overtime over you. Because it's in any sport, when you are the guy on offense with control of the ball, great offense is always going to be great defense. A quarterback and receiver can throw a perfect pass, timing route, and it doesn't matter if you have Darrelle Revis and Rod Woodson over help for top. It doesn't matter if you're in the NBA and you've got Wembayama and help defense. If Jokic fade away, hits it over everybody. In baseball, the pitcher, they're the ones, I know it's kind of weird because they're stopping runs, but they got the ball, a great pitch. We saw that one that the Mets pitcher threw over the weekend, the 84-mile-an-hour, like, I don't even know what you'd call it, but it bent from all the way behind the batter's box into the middle of the plate. You cannot stop when the guy with the ball is just better than you. And Jokic is the guy with the ball who's just better than you. He's the best player in the sport. Let's move on to Luka Doncic. And this I think is genuinely, this sucks, right? This is really unfortunate because Luka has been on a tear. Luka has been on a heater. And what Luka has versus a lot of other guys, like, look, there's always injuries. You could go throughout NBA history every single year and be like, oh, I could put an asterisk on titles. I could put an asterisk on seasons because this guy got hurt, et cetera, et cetera. That's always going to exist. But when you are somebody like Luka Doncic, who's done it, you have taken subpar teams and gotten them all the way to the NBA Finals, gone on deep playoff runs. Luka, despite not having a title, is an all-time great postseason performer. Go back to his early years where he was torching the Kawhi and PG-led Clippers. Like, Luka shows up in the playoffs. This is not a James Harden situation. This is not a pick your playoff quote-unquote choker. And so it's unfortunate that they are this close, they are this good, he's playing this well, and his season and Austin Reeves is unfortunately going to come down to an injury. Look, I'm not a Laker fan by any stretch of the imagination. I have probably I definitively have rooted against the Lakers more than I have rooted for them. But when you're looking at a team where it finally looked they were clicking, LeBron settled into his role as a third guy who's now going to have to be the number one guy because Luka and Austin Reeves aren't there. Like, this is just one of those, I don't want to call it a tragedy or a travesty. That's a little too much. But this is a bummer for somebody like Luka, who you're at this stage in your career. You have a real chance with Austin Reeves, with a third option, LeBron James, with DeAndre Ayton, who is never going to get the credit or publicity, but is playing better. And you had a real chance to make another run, which you already have proof of concept. Luka Doncic being your best player can make runs in the playoffs. And what do you get out of it? Unfortunately, this season, which has had some lows, but has also had some promise, it is going to end with a Luka Doncic injury. And we say this all the time. You never know if you're going to get back. And we always view that in terms of, for teams that get to the finals and then lose. But you never know. You don't have to make it to the finals to lose when it's your best opportunity and your best shot to win. Chris Paul, who basically got booted out the league at high speed, thrown out of a plane with no air, with no, you know, uh, whatever the hell you call that stuff, the parachute. His best chance, he had one really early in New Orleans, gets to the second round, loses to Tim Duncan and the Spurs. Then they get another one in the clip with the Clippers, second round, lose to Tim Duncan and the Spurs. Those were his best chances. And he was not able to capitalize on either. And even though he's one of the greatest point guards to ever play the game of basketball, he has to retire with no championships. And just the thought of, damn, what if this team? And that's where Luka Doncic is right now. He is a damn, what if this team was the one? We always think of it's always a team in the finals. We're like, oh, we don't get back. You're not guaranteed to get back if you're a second round team, a third round team. Hell, you could be a first round team. And when you lose in the manner of which you do in the playoffs and you potentially never get back to that spot, are we going to look back at Luka in 5 years and go, oh, his best teammates he had on the Lakers was older LeBron James and essentially in his prime Austin Reeves? And was this your best opportunity to go get a title? And that's just unfortunate. It's sports. It happens. It's life. But it is unfortunate. Yeah, again, we started late. We're going to take a quick break here, then come back with hard right, hard left. A lot to talk about today. Stuff that I got wrong, stuff that I got right. Also, a lot of really good stuff going on in sports today. Angel Reese, she was traded from the Chicago Sky to the Atlanta Dream. That, I think, is a great fit, both team-wise and culture-wise. Baseball is in essentially full swing. I know it's still early in the season, but a lot of great baseball going on. This is HardFOul Radio. Back momentarily. And we are back. This is HardFOul Radio. So no hard right, hard left. I know I said that before leaving for the break, but because we're a little out of whack here, there's a couple of things. There's more things I want to get to. Starting with a little bit of NFL talk. The Chargers have to be the most overrated team in the league. And I know like Charger fans aren't going to like that, and that's fine. That's whatever. But this is my problem with the Charger concept, right? It's one thing if you have belief, like Charger fans, you guys should all just have belief in your team anyway. That's fine. I don't care about that. Have belief in your team. Think your team's going to do great. That's a part of sports. You're supposed to feel like that. My problem is once you then try to make it analytical, what is is the purpose or the point of what you're trying to say your team will be better? Is it valid? Charger fans are telling me that the difference between where they were last year and where they're going to be this year, which last year wasn't a bad season. Can we talk about that for a second? The Chargers did not have a bad year last year. They had a bad year by the standard of 2026 sports media, which is win a title or you ain't shit. But in reality, they're a consistent playoff team. They win double-digit games, and they have a quarterback that they trust the franchise with and that they believe they have long-term going forward. That's a great spot to be in. Do you know how many teams would love to be where the Chargers are? But instead, because we're not accepting of that position and we don't think that's good enough, I'm supposed to believe that the Chargers, who are the betting favorites to win the AFC West and one of the betting favorites to make it out of the AFC, they're going to be tremendously better because their offensive linemen are coming back. Their left and right tackle, which isn't born, not trying to take that away. And they hired Mike McDaniel. Okay. Well, let's think about this. Because let's just use real simple logic. Because the team they have to jump is the Broncos. I get it. The Chiefs fans, they're going to say got to jump us too. Let's wait until we know if Mahomes is healthy or how many games he's playing. But in order to jump the Broncos, you got to be better than Denver. And what are the Chargers better than Denver at? Quarterback? Absolutely. Absolutely. Head coach? Toss-up. I'd say that. I think Sean's better, but it's a toss-up. Him and Harbaugh both have credentials of great head coaches. Running back? Denver's better. That offensive line that Chargers fans keep telling me are going to be the reason they take this big leap, Denver's better. Even if both your tackles are there, Garrett Bowles and Mike McGlinchey are a better tackle combo than Rashawn Slater and Joe Alt, statistically and eye test. Garrett Bowles was an all-pro last year. First team all-pro. So he's literally the best. He had the best season for a left tackle last year. Receiving core, now with the addition of Jalen Waddle, Denver's got a better receiving core. Defensive line, Denver's got a better defensive line, even with John Franklin Myers heading to Tennessee. Linebackers, Denver has better linebackers. And secondary, it's not realistically close. PS2, Hufanga, we'll see what happens with Riley Moss, but whether they keep Moss, Barron, how they're going to do that. So Denver's better everywhere but quarterback. But they got Mike McDaniel. Was Mike McDaniel thought of this even when he was a coordinator about to become a head coach? Or was he just thought to be a really good coordinator? He's going to get a head coach because there's opportunities and there's positions and slots to be filled. Is Mike McDaniel the best coach even from that coaching tree? No, of course not. He's like fourth or fifth down the line. Again, Justin Herbert is great. But we got to stop acting like Justin Herbert, who a great quarterback, has all the measurables, has all the talent in the world, throws a really pretty ball. We're also going into year 7, year 8? And Justin Herbert has not just no playoff success. And there's one thing if you want to say, and I push back on this all the time, that like you cannot have Super Bowls and still be successful. That is absolutely true. I believe that wholeheartedly. Dan Marino's one of the 10 best quarterbacks ever, in my opinion, and he's got virtually no playoff success outside of 1 year. That is different than what Justin Herbert has. So Justin Herbert, I'm going to give you 4 playoff games. And you're going to ask, how do you have 4? He hasn't played in 4 playoff games. Let's go with the first actual playoff game. He's up 30-plus points on the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Jaguars come back and win that game. It's pretty bad. It's a rough way to start your playoff career. Let's go to the Houston Texans. Well, they're going to beat them. The Texans are reeling. CJ's not playing well. Chargers were a trendy pick. A lot of money was put on them. 4 interceptions. And that's really bad. And then they were trendy picks again this year. They're going to take advantage of the New England Patriots, who are young, inexperienced. They're bummed out they didn't get the 1 seed. And they're going to go into Foxborough and win that game. They got you 3 points. Oh, and by the way, that 4th playoff game, when the Chargers and Raiders, all they had to do was tie, and they would have both made the playoffs. The Chargers fumble that game. Raiders kick a field goal, win that game. Basically win and keep playing, playoff type environment. They lose that. And I know it's always the head coach or it's always the receiver. It's always somebody else's fault. But that is 3 actual playoff games and a 4th playoff scenario. And you haven't just been bad. You haven't just been unlucky. You have been historically bad. Losing a 30-point lead is historically bad. 4 interceptions in a playoff game when you only threw 3 in the regular season. Historically bad. You only get 3 points against the team everybody before. I understand the Patriots made it to the Super Bowl, but no one had the Patriots in the Super Bowl. This is a 4-win team last year. Drake May was like, they felt like, Drake had this great season, but he was going to finish second in the MVP to Stafford. And they had this great season, but they finished second to Denver in seeding. And it felt like, the Chargers could go in there and get this. Only get 3 points. And you could both tie and get in. And you lose that in the last couple of seconds on the game-winning field goal. Like, Herbert doesn't just have a so-so playoff resume. He has one of the worst playoff resumes of all time. Yes, he's talented. Yes, he can throw a really pretty ball. Yeah, he can probably throw it 60 yards downfield. He's got a cannon. But we got to stop acting like the Chargers are just objectively an overrated team. There's just no other way to put it. It's just an overrated team. The team they have to get better than in their division, who might be the best team in the AFC this year. They're better at exactly quarterback. And even with that, Denver's quarterback, first year makes the playoffs, second year wins a playoff game as the number 1 seed. I don't know. Who's actually the better quarterback to come out of Oregon? These are what the people are asking. Moving on to one of my favorite parts of the show, why would he say that? We have gotten to a point with Stephen A. Smith where this is now his thing. And this is really unfortunate. I was watching the Lamar Odom documentary over the weekend. My wife put it on. Actually, she was interested in it because of the Kardashian aspect. And Stephen A. was kind of giving a breakdown of his interpretation of the Lamar Odom situation. And he was based on about, you were the 6th man of the year, you were this, that, you just signed this big contract, and now you're showing up at this point. I think you'd signed with the Clippers, and he's like, you're with the Clippers, you're 300 pounds, like you don't want to be there. And he was sourcing things of like, guys are telling me he's doing this, guys are telling me this is happening behind closed doors. And it was actual journalism from Stephen A. Smith, who that is supposed to be his thing. He is supposed to be a journalist. I understand he's no longer in locker rooms to the same extent ever since First Take, since he's been a part of First Take and has exploded into this thing. But that's what he was at one given point in time. And I was like, that was nice. I miss old Stephen A. Smith. I miss the old Stephen A., And then I just thought, because I was going to, for why would he say this? I was going to bring up the fact of him basically insinuating Luka faked an injury because they were getting their ass whooped by the Thunder. And he's been getting dragged on Twitter all day because he said, absolute lie, I did not say that. And everyone's been showing the same video of this is you in 4K. It was recorded. It was said on national television. You said, oh, and don't get me started on Luka. He starts grabbing his hamstring because he's down. Like you said that. And it was a horrible thing to say. And everybody's been already getting on him. We know that part. And then I'm just like, this is just who Stephen A. Smith is now. And so this is my last time responding. Not that Stephen A's got to know who I am or care who I am. That's fine. That doesn't make or break my day. But Stephen A has just found a way to turn himself into, and it works for both parties. Stephen A says something clearly inflammatory, outrageous, over the top, straight up wrong, immoral, impractical, whatever word you want to use. Someone then calls him out. And he goes, my thoughts. I respond on my show. And that's how he gets clicks and views. And he is still, I guess to his credit, the biggest draw in this industry, in sports media. He still can get, as crazy as it is, if he goes on like a week or two break and he comes back, he will have 1 million people watching First Take. He is still a huge draw. He is still a huge attention. Like he will bring attention. He brings traffic. He is still that guy in regards to the numbers that he puts up. But this is who he is now. He is just a numbers guy. He is just, I can get people to watch me, to look at me, but he is not informative. He is not, at this point, I don't even think he's interesting. And both parties get to take advantage of this. Because certain people know if they have enough cachet, I can call out Stephen A. He'll respond. His show will get numbers. My show will get numbers. We're all going to be happy. And that's unfortunate. Because that's really just the problem with sports media and the product in 2026. Is that people would rather see two different people bickering and arguing and going after each other and saying certain things instead of, actually being there for the purpose of us all supposedly watching these shows, which is to have an actual conversation about, I don't know, the games being played. Baseball has started. The NBA is about to head to the playoffs. College basketball got the national championship here in another hour. Women's college basketball championship just finished up yesterday. There's all these different things to talk about. And the conversation around Stephen A, who has the biggest show and it's probably like a top 5 radio show. First Take still the biggest show on ESPN and on most networks. And it's, let me respond to someone calling me out for something clearly I said wrong or inflammatory or rude. That's who he is now. He's no longer informative. He no longer has genuine opinions. He no longer has an ability to articulate himself when it comes to the very thing that he is supposed to be knowledgeable on, which is the topic of sports and watching these games and being able to give back information. That's not him. He is not that guy anymore. He is clicks. He is response. He is outrage. He is the YouTube algorithm, the internet algorithm, the Twitter algorithm in 2026. I don't know how else to say it. That's just who he is and who he has become. It's unfortunate. This is HardFOul Radio, back momentarily. And we are back. This is HardFOul Radio. A couple more basketball things I want to talk about before we get in the end. So some things just make sense. And they make sense even beyond, like, they're bigger than sports. They just make sense in life. Angel Reese going to Atlanta. She was traded today. A lot of it just felt right, even from the breaking of the story. Like, Taylor Rooks being the one, like, them, Angel giving her the information to have her say, hey, this is the announcement. That felt right. Her now being her personality. Again, she went to an SEC school, taking her personality, her character, putting it in Atlanta, a major black city, all this stuff. Like, it just feels like this is a bigger than basketball move. And Angel's a great basketball player. So it's going to work on the court. Feels like it's going to work even more off the court. This now has a chance, the brand that she has built off of not just her character and her personality, but also her play. This feels like Mike Vick in Atlanta. When you are just bigger than, you become a bigger icon, not just because of the sport or how well you play it, but the city and the style in which you play. This just feels like this. It just feels right. I'm not the WNBA insider. I don't have all the breakdowns. I'm not even here to tell you that, was it an overpay and underpay? Sometimes you just have to look at sports, which coincides with life, and go, this is a good fit. Certain guys, certain players, certain women, like, you put them in certain cities, you put them in certain situations, it's just going to work for a multitude of reasons. And Angel in Angel in Atlanta, that's going to work. You don't got it. You don't got to overthink it. You don't got to overcomplicate it. That's just going to work. Moving on to another, this should just work. And we need Adam Silver to, for the first time, really make, like, not for the first time, that's unfair to say, but Adam Silver needs to make an impact right now with the awards. So if you've noticed, Luka, who is filing for an exemption, we'll see if he gets it because he missed 2 games to the birth of a child, and so everybody assumes he'll get it, but we'll see. He would fall under 65 games. Cade Cunningham is not going to reach 65 games. He's out for the rest of the regular season. Anthony Edwards isn't going to reach 65 games. He's out for the rest of the regular season. It does look like Jokic and Embiid are going to get to 65 plus. They're not technically there yet, but knock on wood, nothing's going to happen to them. They'll get it. But we can't have a season in which Anthony Edwards, Luka Doncic, and Cade Cunningham, none of them are all NBA guys. And this is one, I think we're getting a lot of revisionist history on the rule because I think almost everybody loved the rule when it first was announced. And I'm one of them. And I think the rule did its job. It just has some unintended consequence. The NBA had a real problem with guys just sitting, resting, load managing. That was a real thing. Let's not act like it was not a real thing. It was not a real problem, and the NBA wanted to address it and fix it. Guys not playing games, especially big-time games, nationally televised games, games in Los Angeles, New York, where these tickets are more and more and more expensive. Guys sitting out, it was not good for the NBA. And so they said, hey, look, we're going to make a rule. You got to play X amount of games because not only do guys want the pride of being a first-team All-NBA, second-team All-NBA, they also want the money that comes with it because the majority of contracts have incentives if you hit for first-team All-NBA, if you are an All-Star. And so for the guys to lose those perks and lose those incentives in their contracts, this absolutely worked. Like, I know there's some people who are saying, like, oh, man, this rule wasn't needed. It was unnecessary. No, the rule absolutely did what its intended job was. It is just suffering from unintended consequences, which is guys that get real close, and then they get hurt for that last little part of the season. So they were clearly on pace to play 65 games. They were playing their minutes. They were playing their games. They were showing up, and you just get an injury at the wrong time, and it's over. That's not what the rule was designed for. But it might screw over Anthony Edwards. It might screw over. We'll see again what happens with Luka, and it's potentially going to screw over Cade Cunningham. And because there's even in the rule written that a guy must play 20 minutes for the games to qualify, You can't even, I think Cade's at 60, 62, 63, and Luka's a game short. You can't even just put them out there, immediately call timeout, foul, and still get it and just kind of fix it yourself. They have to be out there for 20 plus minutes, real game time. Adam Silver just needs to say, hey, look, the rule did what it was intended to do, and it worked because we did not have a season with a bunch of guys load managing. The rule is now not doing what it's supposed to be doing, so we are effectively canceling it. It is not anymore in use or in effect for the remainder of this season, and we'll revisit and look to make a new rule, improvising starting next year. Because it did its job. We have not heard once about a story about load managing or guys not playing or these big primetime matchups just falling on their face because guys were not out there. So the rule worked. But we need the rule now to be altered, adjusted. Look what Major League Baseball has done. Major League Baseball has been tweaking and tweaking and tweaking. And I'm somebody who shit on Rob Manfred for years. What Major League Baseball did with the pitch clock, with ABS, defensive shifts, and they have altered the rules as they've gone on. If they see something they don't like, they're like, hey, we're going to make an adjustment. We're going to, tweak it here, tweak it there. And that's what you're supposed to do. Hey, we made this rule. This is what its intended purpose was. Didn't quite work out the way we thought it was going to. So we're going to make some adjustments. We're going to make some, again, tweaks, boom, boom, boom. And then we will solidify the rule or we'll make adjustments to the rule as we need to. 65 game rule worked. It now needs to be tweaked and adjusted. Because you can't, and this only matters, I get it, to certain people. I just happen to be certain people. When you look at the history of the game, and you're looking at all NBAs, and it's supposed to capture that season. Who were the 5 best players that year? Who were the next 5 best players that season? If I lose 3, 4, 5 of these guys, and now I got, like Donovan Mitchell, if Luka doesn't get approved, Donovan Mitchell is going to be a first-team All-NBA. And I don't want to say like Donovan Mitchell's not a good player. I don't want to act like Donovan Mitchell's not having a great season. The Cavs, they've got Harden. They think they have a chance to win the title. But Donovan Mitchell has been one of the 5 best players this season. And it would be wrong to represent, if I look at Eastern Conference guards, Cade's had a better year. I think Jaylen Brown has had a better year. Like, there's guys who are the story of this season who have played better this season. Maybe not overall better players than Donovan Mitchell, but they're guys who have been more of a force, a factor, a story than Donovan. But he's got a real chance, if they don't change these or approve Luka, he might be first-team All-NBA. I don't think the MVP conversation is nearly as drastic a talking point for that, because I do genuinely feel like, again, most MVP races are really close. It's very rare you go like, oh yeah, we know who the MVP is. Like Steph in 2016, okay, we know who the MVP is. LeBron, when he won his last one, it was like, okay, yeah, he's the best player, they're the best team, boom. When you get to some of these though, or the majority of these, and it's really close to where we're arguing about how many wins your team has, how many, what percentage of usage are you, like how much of a factor are you for your team's offense, defense, etc. The amount of games you played does factor versus all NBA. I get 5 guys. So normally my 3 or 4 MVP candidates, they can all make first team All NBA. If you want to go all the way back to like when we went positional and like when it really mattered, like Wilt and Russell is a really weird All NBA thing because it's like they were fighting for one spot. Kareem basically had center on lock for well over a decade. That's different. But normally your top 3 or 4 MVP candidates all find their way on first team All NBA unless they don't meet the 65 game requirement, which again, that was not the reason or the intent for the rule. It was to attack load managing. This isn't load managing. This is unfortunate and untimely injury. And these guys, especially when the majority of the season, we've clearly known they've been the all-star, they've been the best player on their team, they've been the best players in the league. Don't screw them because they got hurt at this point in the season versus this point in the season. Adam Silver, you can fix it. I promise you can. Just do it. This is HardFOul Radio. We'll be back to close out after this break. And we are back to close out the show today. Again, sorry for the slightly shorter episode. Had stuff I had to take care of beforehand. We will be back tomorrow morning, 5 to 7 a.m. So, context is usually really hard to have when you weren't there for it, right? We love to do a lot of revisionist history and deciding, oh, this is right, this was wrong. We look back on it, and I'm talking about sports. I'm talking about real life things. In real life, it's usually actually a little bit easier because some things are just horrible, horrific, and that's a much easier thing to explain. But in sports, I feel like we've just loved the last couple of years to go, oh, revisionist history, this was wrong, this was always the right way it should have been done, blah, blah, blah. And a lot of that is around the MVP conversation. Because there's a lot of people right now who, again, I think Jokic is the best player in the sport. I started the show off with that. And I think most people would say Jokic is better than Shea. I know there's a couple people, Tony included, who would say Shea is better right now. But I think Jokic is the best player. And I think the majority, I think he would win the vote. If you voted for who is the best player, I think he would get the most votes. Shea would get some votes. Wemby would get some votes. And that's probably it. But with a lot of those same people who are willing to say, yeah, Jokic is the best player, but Shea's clearly the MVP, they love to go back to when LeBron, and a lot of people feel like LeBron, and he wasn't given as many MVPs as he should have earned. They feel like, oh, well, Derrick Rose's MVP was just one of the biggest heists in NBA history. Except Derrick Rose has the same argument that Shea has now over Jokic. If Jokic and LeBron are the best player in the sport, they are the top 10 all-time player playing, and they are the guy who is just putting up numbers that no one's ever seen before. But the lead guard on the best team in the sport gets the MVP, and in D Rose's case, a lot of it too was the age. It was the fact of, wow, he's doing this at 22 years old. Shea, he's doing this with a really young Oklahoma City team who last year, the biggest knock on can OKC win the finals and how far can they go was their age, their youth, and their inexperience. And neither of them had a dominant second option. Rose had Luol Deng, Carlos Boozer, Joakim Noah, to whatever degree you want to credit his offense. Shea has had J-Dub in and out of his lineup. Chet, who doesn't have a fully refined offensive game. Like, they are the guys. But if you believe that Rose was some kind of heist because you weren't there in the moment, and in the moment, Derrick Rose was clearly the MVP. He was the driving factor on the best team in the Eastern Conference. He had no great secondary option. He was giving you 25 points a night. He was exciting, highlights, all this stuff. Like, he had the storyline, he had the branding, he had the play, the context of Derrick Rose in real time. We're going to talk about this later in the week, too, with another guy who it's like how we view them in real time versus how they show up now in history books or stats, really just your basketball reference page. Yes, and you can be 100%, you can be the best player and not win MVP every year. The reality is you're more likely to be the best player and not win MVP every year. Because when you go on these prolonged stretches that Jordan went on, that Duncan went on, that Kobe went on, that LeBron's gone on, that Jokic is currently on, Giannis is, despite now Giannis has been injured, and that's part of the only reason Giannis has been a 30-10 guy, shooting 60%, and one of the best passing big men in the league and of all time. And after his two, we're like, yeah, it's just what Giannis does. We're no longer impressed by it. Russ, it was historic, all-time stuff. It was, how could you not be the MVP when he averaged a triple-double? Well, then he did it 3 more times, and we weren't as impressed. The story wasn't as sexy. It wasn't as cool or interesting. Jokic is about to lead the league in assists and rebounds. He statistically is better than every stat when he's won his previous MVPs. And I don't think he should be the MVP. I don't even have him in my top 2. I think Wemby and Shea have been clearly the MVP. If you're going to give MVP to somebody, I think it's clearly one of those two. But I just think he's the best player in the world. The same way I think Derrick Rose absolutely deserved his MVP. He was the rightful person to earn it. LeBron was just the best player in the world. And yes, LeBron, and this is one of the things, LeBron locked him up, quote unquote, in the playoffs. Yeah, because LeBron was the better player. But it does not mean just because you're the better player or the best player in the world, it does not always mean you're the most valuable. Because it's why, with intentionality, valuable is the word. Are you more valuable this season to your team than somebody else? LeBron couldn't be the MVP when D Rose won it. He was a part of the Miami Heat, and he had Dwayne Wade. Derrick Rose had Carlos Boozer, who, no disrespect to Carlos Boozer, who was an all-star and a good player. He wasn't Dwayne Wade. Luol Deng, what, again, a good player, was an all-star, was not Dwayne Wade. Like, there's other factors. And because, yes, this is a storyline thing, this is a context matters in real time. That D Rose MVP is not a sham. It is not oh, LeBron was robbed. Are there years LeBron was robbed? Probably. But I don't even subscribe to another MVP that people think was robbed was Kobe was robbed when he against Steve Nash. The Suns were so much better than the Lakers that year. Yes, Kobe was you would make an argument. Kobe was the best player. Kobe had these crazy numbers. He was scoring 30 plus a game, 35 a game, all that. The Suns were better. And Steve Nash was more valuable and leading to more wins than Kobe Bryant was. Was he ever better than Kobe Bryant? No, of course not. But that's not the discussion. A handful of these guys can win MVPs and not be the best player in the sport at the time. Those are not mutual. Those like, just because you are the best does not mean you win every single award every single time. Especially something like that is written on by writers. Writers need stories. Writers need narratives. Writers need headlines. And it's not to say that they only do it to have narratives and headlines, but those matter when it comes to making your case as the most valuable player of that season. They're literally designed, MVP awards are designed to be snapshots. Who was the best that year? Who was the most valuable that year? Who was the biggest story that year? Yeah, over the course of LeBron's 23-year career, he's the best player in the world for 17, 18 of those years, 16 of those years. Some people some people probably tell you 20 of those years. But that doesn't mean that he's always the MVP. He's great. He's always going to be great. But you got first team All-NBA to tell you that you're great. The MVP is a unique one of case and a one of award for that individual season. So let's stop acting like Derrick Rose. And if Shea wins it this year, I think Shea absolutely deserves his MVP. Derrick Rose absolutely deserved his MVP. Jokic and LeBron were the best players in the sport at the time they won those MVPs. All those statements are true. They deserved those MVPs. Those other guys were the best player in the sport. That's the reality. Let's stop shitting on an MVP award that was absolutely earned by the youngest player in NBA history to ever win the MVP award. And LeBron's not hurting for awards, guys. You got plenty of first team All NBAs. He's got his own set of MVPs. He's got championship rings. He's not hurting for awards. He's doing just fine. And with that, appreciate everybody for tuning in today. Appreciate you if you are listening to this after the fact, Apple, Spotify, however you get your podcast. We'll be back tomorrow morning, 5 a.m. Can't wait.